everybody, we are going to start shell scripting here using bash shells, and this is the very first session in shell scripting. So be very prompt about doubts that you have, any doubts. When we have to process some data, we write programs in any language, be it C, C++, Python, Java, when we have to process data. But when we have to manage programs, projects, file systems, networks, communication, when we have to manage these things, we write shell scripts. Very first thing about the shell first. Shell is a program which is part of operating system. It takes commands typed by the user and calls the operating system to run those commands. Like this is a shell, but this is a graphic shell. In Linux you have original bash shells other than this graphic shell. The graphic shell that you see, the black window, that graphic shell is actually provided by the GUI, that is genome, that we are using in our system. There are two types of GUIs that are available as far as the device is concerned, and those GUIs are genome that we are using, and another is KDE. There is another one floating around nowadays that is called XFC. Okay, this GUI genome provides a graphic shell which looks like this. This is not the original Linux shell. Instead, this was a graphic shell. If you want to go to the original Linux shell, that is bash. You have to press Ctrl Alt F3 or F4 or F5 or F6 to come back to the graphic shell. You press Ctrl Alt F2. Okay. So these are the key combinations that will take you to a programming shell. Don't try it now. Try it after this. Because if the graphic shell is not configured properly, you may not be able to return back to graphic shell. If you will not be able to return back to graphic shell, you will not be able to see the specification. Okay. So that are the original Linux bash shells that you can see in the class. Shell is basically, as I said, is a program that is part of the operating system. Now this shell provides you two things. First of all, it protects the kernel. Second, it also provides an interface to the kernel. Two things. It provides protection to the kernel, which is the big source code, and it also provides valid access to the kernel source code and other features. This shell, that is the program provided by the operating system, this shell is basically an interpreter. It interprets the command that is given. It interprets the commands that you type. Okay. Interprets the command that you type. So, statement I would like to give here, bash shell is basically an interpreter. It interprets the commands that you type in. Now, how does it interpret the command that you type? Suppose you type the command ls. that will be put in after the prompt. We'll talk about the prompt. What is this prompt? Whenever you open the shell, be it a graphic shell or any original Linux shell, the shell will always be started and the prompt will be displayed. And the prompt looks something like this. If you look this carefully, then it is like the username here, @machine name, and this is always your current working directory. You will see the current working directory or the current folder name here. Instead of the name, if you see it sign, that means you are in the home directory of the current user. And this dollar is a prompt. This prompt tells you that shell is ready, and you can type in your command. I hope this is clear and nobody has a doubt. You will see your name here. That is the username through which you log in. And this is going to be your machine's name. Okay. Now when you log in, you will see the dollar prompt. Dollar prompt means you are logged in as an ordinary user with even with permissions. Okay. Like Linux, like Windows have administrator. Similarly, Linux also have a super user with all the capabilities, all the powers and all the permissions. That user is called a root user. When you log in as a root user, you will see the username changed to root, and that prompt will change from ordinary dollar prompt to hash prompt. The tilde here will mean that you are in the home directory of your root user now. Okay. So when you type in a command, what actually happens and how does the command execute? The moment you type command, the command path, the control jumps to the command path. The control jumps to the command path. Command path is declared in the environment variable called path. Path is an environment variable. The moment you type in the command like this, let me put it here for you. The moment you type in the command, the control jumps to path environment variable. Suppose you will give the command ls. The moment you give the command ls, the control jumps to environment variable called path, which stores some standard paths. Okay, there is an environment variable. Let me put it up here. Path. Now this path is your environment variable. This environment variable stores standard paths. Now look at these standard paths. Path is an environment variable. Now environment variables are what, first of all? Environment variables. Now these environment variables are declared by the operating system to describe the current working environment and store the associated values in those variables. Environment variables are declared and used by the operating system to store values in these variables to describe the working environment. For example, the background is going to be black, the text is going to be what color, font width will be what. All these are environment variables, values. Okay. One of those environment variable is your path. Is one of those environment variables, and this path environment variable stores standard path. Path environment variable stores standard paths. Okay. Now these standard paths are separated by colon. See, there is a path here, user lib64 separated by colon, user lib64 cache, user local aspen, user local with, like these are all standard paths, all separated by colon, colon. The moment you give any command, the control jumps to the path environment variable and starts looking for a file with the name of the command name. Like suppose ls is the command, so it starts looking for a file called ls in this path. Not found, then check this path. Not found, then check this. Like this, it checks each and every path for ls. Wherever it finds ls, wherever it finds ls, it will check its permission. It is elf format executable file. Yes, execute. That is how the commands execute. Yes, yes.
So does it only stores the path only for the commands or something else for
Only for the
also?
commands and
So sir, I
utilities.
can
Executables and many configuration files are also found there.
okay, sir. So I can conclude that all the commands that can be that are present for this Linux are stored on these paths.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
For example, yes, Weber.
Sir, in that case, if we add our own executable in either of these directories, then that executable will be we will be able to execute that executable with from any directory.
That's also very correct. That's
And is it
exact.
possible to change the add any other directory as the path directory?
Can you repeat that, please?
I want to add one more path
We can do that.
to this path and to the
We can do
replacement.
that, and that is exactly what we are going to do next. So we have here echo. Echo is like printer, which prints the values stored in create path. So these are the standard paths in my system. Okay. I want to add ls slash ls slash. So in root I have new directory. Let's create a new directory. cd slash test directory. I created a directory called test directory in root. Okay. Now I do not have this test directory as part of environment variable. None of them. So it's not there. So I can change it by making path is equal to $path means all the existing directories colon slash test directory. Okay. Look at that. The test directory is added towards the end of the stand paths.
question, sir? Yes, surely here, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, as you said earlier, that whenever we change anything in environment variable, and after we log in, then it is reset to its original environment variables.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
It will be reset to the original one, and this test dir will be lost.
Oh, sir. So this will be removed then. Okay.
Yeah, it will be removed. And if you want to reset it, that is also possible. That we learn in the very Linux.
Oh, sir.
Okay. A shell acts as a wrapper around the operating system, just like you have a wrapper around the fruit called coconut. Similarly, a shell is also a wrapper around the operating system, which provides it some protection and also provides some valid interfaces. The shell is primarily used to increase the speed and efficiency of the computer, organize your stuff, automate some complex sequence of commands, like for building a proper device driver, you will give between 140 to 150 commands. But you can't give manually all the commands. You put everything in a script and execute the script like as we have been doing in some code. It also provides great control over your system. For system administration, it will allow you to do things that simply could not be done otherwise. Okay. Now, shell will allow you to do some administration not only for system but also for network. Even network administration is actually done using shell script. Very complex command that could be combined to make very complex tasks make very simple for you. Now, there are various types of shells that are available. I would just like to spend a few minutes on that. It all started with Bourne shell. The Bourne shell was the initial default shell that was provided with Linux or Unix operating system. It was a default shell in Unix operating system. Okay. Unix operating system was developed in C programming language, and it followed the Bourne shell syntax. So there were two languages that were already being used for Unix operating system. That is the Bourne shell syntax and the C programming syntax. So in those days, learning C programming language or any other language was a big task. So what happened is the C programmers were already very much troubled about that. So few of them took it as an opportunity to develop a new scripting language, new shell called C shell. So now you had two different shells, C shells and the Bourne shell, and C shell was very famous among people who used to do C programming. So later on, Unix evolved, and in the early 80s, Linux was a very stable operating system and was being used by many companies all over the world. And that time, like we had many new features in the shell. So a new version of the Bourne shell, which was developed by Stephen Bourne, a new version of the Bourne shell came into existence that was designed called the Corn, designed by David Corn and his team in AT&T Bell Labs. So Corn shell had many advanced features that were supported, including networking, that was supported by Linux operating system. Okay. Meanwhile, the C programmers also. Somebody's microphone is on. Please switch it off. I think it is Weber. The C programmers also evolved a new shell with advanced features, and the new shell was called TCSH, Advanced C shell. Meanwhile, in late 80s, Linux came into picture, and Linux was a free operating system. They needed a free shell, so they started working on the original Bourne shell, which was discarded because of the presence of the Corn shell. The Bourne shell was the old shell, so they started working on the old Unix shell, Bourne shell, and evolved it into a new shell called Born Again shell, which is abbreviated as Bash. Bash is Born Again shell. It had all the features of Bourne shell, all the features of Corn shell, all the features of C shell, all the features of TCSH shell, and it was a very powerful shell. And this shell rules the roost now, the Bash shell. Advanced features such as command line editing, free of all kind of proprietary license, had all the features of Corn shell, Bourne shell, C shell, TCSH shell. It offered command line editing like Corn shell, file name compilation like C shell. It rules the roost. and it is a default shell on Linux and Macintosh operating systems today. There some other shells also came into existence, like ARM shell, ARM twist shell, ASX, which is used in Windows now, and Zilib ZSH, which has large number of features, RC shell, and many more shells. But all the shells come and go because the bash have everything, and the bash is free. So bash is the default choice, and it is going to be existing. Meanwhile, the Korn shell, which was the advanced Unix shell, was standardized by the committee and is now a default shell on all the operating systems. Korn shell is present everywhere. Okay. You can check your shell, which shell you are working on, using the command called echo value stored in environment variable called shell. It tells you that currently you are logged in which shell. I am logged in with bash. Okay. Bash shell. So this echo dollar shell tells you that you are currently logged in with shell. To check the shell environment variable. Echo shell tells you you are in this shell, in bash shell. Okay. There are some other environment variables also, like the path I told you, like the shell I told you. Then there is environment variable called user, which tells you which user is logged into. Okay. There is a command called chsh. It is used to change the shell. Suppose you have some other shell also, and you want to change the shell. You can use chsh-s command to change the shell. It will ask for the password. You can give the password and change the shell. This is used to change the shell. Current login can't change the shell, but the next login you will log into the change the shell. Next login will happen into the new change shell. Currently you're logged in. You can't switch to another shell. It's a whole session that can't be changed. But yes, you can later on when you log in, log off and log in again. You will log into the new shell. This can you can also practice after the session is over.
Question, sir?
Yes,
Yes, Chaudhary, sir.
yes.
Sir, how to check which cells are present in our system right now?
Yeah, so you can go to environment variable where all the shells are stored. Like you see, my bash shell was stored in /bin. All other shells are also stored in /bin. ls. So whatever names you have for the shells that are stored here will end with sh. ls star sh. The bash shell is here. Korn shell is there. Born shell. TCL shell is there. Secure shell is there. Okay, I don't have any other shell. So you can log into any other shell and then come back to bash shell. You must come back to bash shell again after testing the change shell. Otherwise, you will always be in the other shell. So to come back to the bash shell, again change shell, and this time give the shell name as /bin/bash. Okay. So this was the basic first-hand introduction to the shells, about type of shells we have. Let's move on to scripts now. Shells, we have seen suppose there is a file. In that file you stored a statement and some expression and some statement and some expression in the statement. Such a file is called a program. A file which is collection of expressions and statements is called a program. Whereas another file in which you would have stored some commands, command with options and arguments, collection of commands in another file. Such a file is called shell script. Okay. So a file in which you keep one command per line, another command, another command, another command. Such a file is called shell script. A command line argument provides data for the command to work on. Now what happens is how a command is interpreted as a command is what we have to understand. Suppose you have a shell prompt. In the shell prompt you are typing like this. There is a prompt, suppose you are logged in as a root user, so you will have a dollar prompt. Suppose you give command, your command is always some word, you type in a word. After typing word, you press the enter key. The enter key will give two things here. Enter means carriage return, will give you backslash n and backslash 0. These two things together are interpreted as the carriage return, which is the enter key. So any word followed by enter is interpreted as command. Any word followed by enter, carriage return means enter key is interpreted as a command. Okay. Like you see here in this case. Now the commands that you've seen here may have some options and arguments. If you write like this, any word which is actually going to be command can be followed by hyphen character any number of characters. Any word which is actually command followed by hyphen, which is this, so will be hyphen and character. Actually it could be any number of hyphen character, hyphen character, hyphen character, hyphen character. This hyphen character is called single character option. Okay. This will usually alter the format of output command line. So I'm talking about this option here, or maybe any number of options. I can say There is another type of option. Instead of a single hyphen, there could be a double hyphen followed by some word. This followed by a hyphen and a word. Any number of hyphen word, hyphen, two hyphens actually. This hyphen word is called a single word option. This will be to the altogether format of it. Same thing it will do, but it will do it using word. Instead of a single character, you will be using single word here as an option. I'll show you the same thing in the man pages just now. Suppose you check the man page for any command. What is the command you've been using? Like for example, ls. So you do check the man page for ls. You see single letter option and single word option. So these will alter the way. Q for quit the message. Yes, Rahul. Sorry? See, your volume is too low. I'm not able to understand what you're saying.
Hello.
It's better.
So man page work.
Man page. Man page means manual page. Man page means manual page. Please switch on your off your microphone now.
सर वो कहना चाह रहा है कि मैन पेज का मैनुअल से दोबारा खोल दीजिए।
हाँ ये है।
अब उसके अंदर सर ये -a और -a और -a कॉमा दोनों में से कोई भी यूज करेंगे तो सेम आउटपुट आएगा, राइट?
Output same आएगा, that's right.
Okay, sir.
You can see there are many things here. Hyphen A means on, means show all the files. Do not ignore entries with dot. Entries means the file names that start with dot are actually hidden files. Okay. So you can use either the single hyphen option or single word option, both. Okay. Now there is another variation in there. Suppose you have prompt, some command followed by some word or string empty or word or character. Now here the command is followed by something, but that something doesn't have a single hyphen or a double hyphen. That's the difference. So a command followed by some character or word or string, but without hyphen or two hyphens is considered an argument. Considered an argument to the command to process that. So in our case, this is string that I mentioned here and becomes an argument. For example, you see I give ls slash boot. So I am listing the contents of slash boot tag. So slash boot here becomes argument. I displayed the contents of slash boot tag. Okay. I can also do like this. Hyphen L means long listing. hyphen ls is the command, hyphen l is an option, and boot is the argument. Now it has given us output, long listing, detailed description about every entry in the given directory. So we put the example here. So in this case, we have this as a command, then we have this as an option, and we have this as argument. Some examples. Uname is a command. Let's use this. Uname is a command which gives you the operating system, Linux. Uname -p gives you the processor x86, 64. Uname -m gives you the machine architecture. Okay? So let's have a look at uname man page for uname. It has so many other -s gives you the kernel name, -n gives you node name, -r gives you the kernel release. So let's check -s and -r. -s, -r. You can use both together. So it is given -s and -r both are same. Okay. So let's check few more. -v is the kernel version, and MPI machine architecture, processor architecture, and hardware platform, MPI and V. So there are four options we have identified, MPI and V. So you can give MPI and V all together. So MPIV doesn't become a word because it is single option. So MPIV will be considered as a single option in single character. So MPI and V are four different character options. Here it gives you M machine architecture, P processor architecture, I hardware platform, and V kernel version. So starting new name, complete details about the machine, then the processor architecture, the hardware platform, and the operating system architecture. Isn't it? So everything should be same. If all these three doesn't turn out to be same, that means the operating system is not installed properly. There is another version here, A for all. It tells you everything: the operating system name, the flavor, the version, and the date time, when it was installed, 11th February I installed this, and then the machine architecture, processor architecture, and the operating system architecture, and the license. So these three must be same. That means you install the correct latest version on your machine. So like this, you can use options. Okay. Now coming to variables. Before that, let's have a look at some examples. The very first, hello. Echo is like printer. Echo is designed to print on the file descriptor number 1. Can you tell me the file descriptor number 1 is connected to where? Please say that again. Your volume is very low. It is connected to file descriptor number 1, which further connect to standard output stream, just like printer. Isn't it? When you run the script, you don't have to compile it. Simply give it execute permission using chmod, add execute permission to the file name. Now something about the permission system. File permissions. So these file permissions are put up in four different categories. The first category is this. The second category is this. Third category is this. And the fourth category is this. Now what are these categories for? This is for blue type of file. The green, these three characters are permissions for owner of file who created the file. These are permissions for group. There will be a group of people who have formed a team and the team is working together. And these red ones are permissions for other. Means people who are outside the group, outside the team. This is read, write, execute, read, no write, execute, read, no write, execute permissions. So there is a permission model, code model. Wherever you have permissions, you give binary 1, 1, 1, 1, no permission, 0, 1, then 1, no permission, 1. Okay. Now these three are three groups for owner, group and other. The permission bits. The decimal equivalent of 111 is 7, 101 is 5, 101 is 5. This is the permission code for your file. You would use the command called chmod. Give the permission code and the file name. To change the file permissions. If you look at this file, if I want to give the write permission to the group also, then I have to have write here. So if I put a write here, so this will also become read, write, execute all the three permissions. So the code will become what? If I want to give permissions like read, write, execute, read, write, this is the current permissions. Suppose I want to give the right permission here also. I want to change this permission model permission to these permissions. I want right permission here also. Okay. So this will become these three are 111 for owner. For group also it will become 111. For other it will become 101. So these three when put together will give you permission code 7, 7, 5. So we can change the permission of this file name is 01.hello.sh. So chmod 77559 long listing. See this. Now when I did long listing, then the permission of this change, then you have write permission for the group also. So this is how you use chmod to change the permissions. Chmod 775 59. thing you would have noticed when I executed this program, I did not compile it. I straight away did dot slash 01.hello.sh and I executed this program, this script actually, because the associated command that I used in this script was echo, and echo was already compiled, built, and the compiled, built, and executed prepared file is kept in slash bin, where we find echo actually. ls e star. There you see, echo is kept in slash bin as a command. Okay. Another program. Again, I'm going to print echo, which is used to print the data to file descriptor number 1. Then there is a read command which works like scanf. This read is used to read data from file descriptor number
0, sir.
0. Very good. Okay. Now, this is the variable name into which the incoming data will be stored. Okay. Data will come in and get stored in var. Var is a variable. Now, when you have to display var, you will use dollar is a macro, which will display the value stored in any variable, and is used like this. If you look at this, there is dollar, there is var. So this dollar and var are two different things to understand. Like this var, this is a variable. Whereas this dollar is a macro. It fetches value from variable and gives it to the command. Okay. If you would not use dollar, then echo को लगेगा var print करना है. Echo does not know that var is a variable, because you do not do variable declarations in shell scripts. There is no variable declarations in shell scripts because in shell scripts everything is string. There are no variables. Everything is strings. So therefore there is no need to do variable declaration. See, if I do not use this dollar, I use only var, then what happens when I run this script? Hello, I say bye. It prints back. I stored hello ke badul kya tha? It stopped. So it stopped at read and it waited for me to enter something. I entered bye. But when it came to printing the contents of var, it did not print the contents of var, it ended up printing var. If you want to print something, the contents of var and treat var as a variable and fetch the contents of var, print the contents of var, you have to do it like hello, I say bye or none. So it prints back the bye. Isn't it? So dollar is a macro which fetches the values from the corresponding variable and gives it to command. If you notice in this program number 2, I have not given .sh. So there is no need to give .sh to this shell script, but there is only one need, and that is give execute permissions. Let's have a look at another example. I say, okay, echo hello world. If you want to print blank spaces also with echo, put the whole thing into double quotes. Okay. Look at this. I'm printing ls, and her slash home is argument, not the option, isn't it? LSS is a invalid command. You don't have this command, so it will give you command not home. There it is, hello world. Then it prints Prochutson, right? Okay. I printed the home directory name. The home directory name was Prochutson, and then the LSS is command not home. There is more about this example number 3 that I have to tell you out of time now. So I will continue this discussion in the next class, but I just give you basic introduction to shell scripts and about commands and options and arguments. From next class onwards, we'll go and do some scripting and learn shell scripts.